And we'll get started here in about a minute or two here. All right. Well, welcome everyone to Content is Still King. My name is Heidi Pearson, and I am the co-founder of Turquoise Media Group. I'll start off by telling you a little bit about myself. I am a 16-year veteran of marketing communications. I'm an agency kid, and what that means is I've worked at Ketchum, Weber Shandwick, Edelman, on a lot of popular consumer packaged goods brands. And that has been everything from ideation, bringing products to market, heavy social media, obviously, as of the birth of social media, lots of influencer marketing and procurement and publicity procurement as well. So we will get started. I don't know if many of you have ever participated in any of the Polsky boot camps, but I was pleased to be invited a couple of months ago for another social media installment, and it was fantastic success and lots of great feedback. So I connected with Steph from Polsky and said, hey, we'd like to do this again. Clearly this was before everything changed in the world, and here we are virtually. So welcome to our new normal. I also want to, before we get started, wanted to just say that this is everyone's learning under fire. So these are not, so to say, definitive, but they're smart based on my professional experience, based on my background. And these are things that will guide you as everyone wants to continue their businesses. And how do we do that via social media? So this is what this is intended to be. And I welcome all of your questions towards the end of the presentation. So we'll get started. Can everyone see my screen properly? Okay. Okay. Perfect. So today we are going to go through our topics for this afternoon are what is social media content and how effective content and messaging can take the lead? What does social media communication in the form of content look like since COVID-19? Why is content still king? User-generated content versus produced content. And that means content that you've produced on your own. How to achieve and secure brand reputation with your social media and your digital content actions, and why your content doesn't work, and also leveraging social media ads. So what does communication in the form of content look like since COVID-19? Since everyone is virtual now, the world has shifted and everyone's lives have changed. And nothing is going to work the way that it has before. And so we're all hoping to just connect with our communities and with our audiences in ways that still feel human, but are very much so relevant and speak to our current crisis that we're experiencing right now. So what you see here, I've included some Instagram posts, because Instagram is my favorite. I've included some Instagram posts that speak to how brands and companies are connecting with their audience. I don't know if many of you have noticed everyone's having master classes, everyone is learning new skills, obviously digitally and online. And everyone is using, what I love the most is everyone is using music to connect people, because people want to feel hopeful, and music it has no boundaries, it has no colors, it has nothing. It's just good music and everyone loves music. So at the bottom here, you will see how a cooking class has said, you know what, when you're making your meals, here's a playlist that we've created, and feel free to play that in the background as you're making your quarantine meals. Another brand has said the same thing about, no, we're not able to travel. However, here's something that can take you on a virtual kind of escapism, if you will. And here's another post about consumer products masterclasses. So these are people that are taking you on an educational journey and an experience virtually as well. And these are all social media posts that explain to communities and to audiences and followers exactly what they should expect and what they want. So what your content should be doing is, right now, specifically in light of COVID-19, your content should be supportive and reassuring through your online communities. Forming groups are a great way to provoke conversation, to speak to specific topics, to engage an audience based specifically around the unique subject matter that you provide. So what happens when a brand is a person instead of a company? Right now, a lot of people are also reinventing themselves. They're taking this time to figure out how to engage e-commerce and sell something online. But when you're reinventing yourself and you are presenting yourself as a subject matter leader or an expert, you want to put your best foot forward. So if you are the person, this particular woman, Jackie Unfiltered, she is a fitness, lifestyle, nutrition blogger. A copy of her page, I did a quick snapshot of what her Instagram feed looks like. Immediately when you go to the feed, before you even read anything about what she's ever done or read any of her captions, when you take a look at her feed, you get a real sense of exactly who she is and what she says she's all about based on her bio. You see food, you see fitness, you see style and fashion. So this is an example of how she's been able to successfully curate her page based on exactly what her bio says. Down here is a screenshot of my Instagram feed. I'm a social media strategist. I'm also a photographer by hobby. I love photography. So when you go to my page, it should also, again, reinforce exactly who I am based on my bio and based on who I say that I am. You can just get a really good feel for that visually. So finding the right place for your content in this time. Right now, when you're looking for groups to connect with, and groups are a great way to, if you are, let's say that you just are totally confused about what to do on your social media platforms. That could be Instagram, that could be Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. If you get into a specific group, groups are there to have you participate and engage with conversation with people that speak directly to and are there specifically for what it is that you offer and what it is that you provide. So Facebook and LinkedIn are both great opportunities to join focus groups on specific topics or industries. If you can find groups that line up with your area of expertise, obviously in other places, other social media platforms, that's fantastic. Then you'll be able to share that experience and build authority around your personal brand, and then share and speak to that specific group. Hey, I'm launching a website. Hey, I'm launching a product line. Once you've established that social engagement via that group. Industry groups are good bets as well because they are there to talk specifically to what it is from an authority standpoint. If it's hospitality, if it's culinary, and if you have a food brand, if it's retail, if you have a clothing brand. But they might already be overcrowded with your competitors. So instead you want to think outside of the box and find other groups where you're likely to find your audience. Why is content still king? Now more than ever, there needs to be a greater emphasis on how a specific business can contribute to improving things where possible. The main idea here is to be very deliberate about showing the human side of your brand. Keeping your content and your brand image consistent is supremely important now more than ever, because people are wanting to make sure that they're connected to something that speaks to exactly what that something is. Being off-brand is something that can happen, but I think once you have a clear vision and clear goals for what it is that you want to do with your social media, which we'll talk about that a little bit further down in the presentation, that'll just kind of reinforce the need and the importance for being consistent with your brand imagery. You have to maintain a certain consistency with your brand across all of your social media platforms, and that relates to if there's a specific color, if there's a specific style, if there's a specific look. High quality, in my opinion, is the best way to go here. If you don't do this, you run the risk of potentially damaging an otherwise solid reputation if one of your profiles shows up with content or images that don't really represent you well. So if you're one of those people who is pretty random in your private social life, you want to separate your brand profiles from your personal profiles. If you want to create a memorable brand, you need to give people a reason to remember you. And that's a great way to do that, especially if there's a specific call to action with your brand, whether it's a business, a company, a product, or your personal brand. If you want your audience to specifically do something with you, for you, share something, buy something from you, you want to just be very consistent in that space, particularly. So another thing to remember is people are using social media now in the same way that they utilize websites. Typically, a person will go to your social media profile before they go to your website, whereas before social media just really got popular, people would go to your website first. Now, when people want to learn more about you, they may search for you on a number of social media platforms. So again, presenting yourself in a consistent manner helps you control their perception of your personal brand or whatever it is that you want them to know about you or know about your product, your business. So again, consistency and diversity in your content will make a way for a more reciprocal engagement with when you change up the type of content that you post daily. The idea here is to give people a real sense of just who you are from a 360-degree approach. You are human, but you are business as well. And so they get a really good sense of who you are from your personality. A large part of social media that I think a lot of people just kind of overlook, you have to be social. In order for people to do anything with you, to engage with you, the key is to be social with people. So think of it as, you know, once upon a time when you could go to a meetup and a networking opportunity with lots of people in the room. You want to be social there. So social media is now a room with like a bigger room, a wider space with a lot of people in it. So again, being social is the best way to go. And it's something that you should definitely keep in mind because that's the key. The engagement is really the key for driving home success with your social media. Again, why is content still king? Whether it's your personal brand or your company or your product, when you're starting out with what to post, I don't know how to post, I've run out of ideas to post. One of the things that I recommend, and this is from my PR days, whenever we're creating messaging for a brand launch, is to create an editorial calendar, if you will. This helps you, if you take a look at the image that I've inserted in this slide, this helps you focus on ideas that you can post on a daily basis and or however convenient it is for you to post. This gives you a clear map so that you're not confused about what to post if you're not just randomly posting something, you know, at a random time. You can schedule your posts, schedule your content in advance so that it speaks directly to, and this is also, let me pause for a second. This is also driven towards if you're launching something or if you're just starting, and think of everything you do as a campaign. So it needs to really speak to what's the message, what's the mission, what's the goal. And developing an editorial content helps you organize your thoughts from a content perspective and from a posting perspective, so you're not trying to figure that out. It works like a plan, and I'm very big on having a plan, writing it down with a real paper, real pen. Plans just work and they help you stay organized. So the image in this slide, again, is the specific image that gives you a day of the week and the content and the platform in which you're going to post. How effective content and messaging can take the lead. So content isn't necessarily something that needs to be overly promotional. Your audience and people in general typically do not like to be sold and oversold and over talked to about, buy this from me, buy this now, I'm having a sale, do this, buy my book. That doesn't really resonate well with people at all. They want to feel connected to something because it's something that speaks directly to them at that time, or something that they feel emotionally connected to. So your social media content allows brands to create and tell stories about who you are, what you offer, who's going to benefit from your offerings, and why they should care. Right now, content specifically in light of our global health crisis, it's specifically intended to connect and engage your community by being mindful and providing helpful information. So the example here is a fitness brand called Addison Bay. And instead of them hurriedly trying to sell you what a lot of us are probably wearing every day beyond pajamas is fitness wear, it's intended to say, hey, we're here for you. We know you're in quarantine. Here's an idea that we want to let you know that we are supporting your health and your mental health, and obviously that's done through physical activity. So the idea here in this entire campaign was to help consumers feel a sense of normalcy while supporting local exercise studios who had possibly been shut down. So the company connected with exercise studio owners who in this regard are considered influencers. So they connected with influencers, sent them product, and then in addition to rolling out their workout series, they ran a family and friends sale for their fitness apparel. Excellent connection, great timing, great messaging, great engagement. And they did it via Instagram stories and obviously posting on their specific platforms. So people were happy about that. And one of the main things to measure in a sense like this would be the brand sentiments that you're getting, which means people are calling into customer service, people emailing you, obviously all of the engagement that the post receives underneath in the comments. So this would be considered a successful way to not be so salesy, but be human, be connective, be helpful, and obviously talk about your brand and show the connection that you have with your community. In this case, again, the community, in addition to the followers of that specific platform, the community involves the fitness instructors and the exercise educators. How effective content and messaging can take the lead again. What does your audience want or expect from your social media content? And these are things that have to be cultivated once you begin. And it's different from day one versus 2 to 3 months down the line. The idea here is to aim for content that is entertaining, that inspires people, that educates people, and that informs them about important things as it relates to your brand. So one of the posts here with the salad talks about drunk people being able to make good problem-solving decisions. So it's meant to be funny, but it's meant to be informative as well. And then obviously showing that there's a specific lifestyle here that could be followed. Another post is a post that I posted on my company Instagram page whenever we did the sales and marketing bootcamp a few months back. So it was informing my audience, hey, we're going to be doing this bootcamp, join in, attend, register, what have you. And then your quotes down here, when you take a look at just the visuals of the images that are inserted in this slide as examples, you can get a sense of what the post is about before you even read the caption. And that's also the key, to be able to do that, to be able to look at an image specifically for Instagram. Instagram is very visual driven. So before anyone even knows anything about the post, specifically, it should speak to visually what you're trying to convey. Another example within this slide also is an important announcement about a state bill passing. And then another post in here is about an intelligent career. So it's posting about a good read, a great read that entrepreneurs and or people within their career can get some really good insights out. So it was really promoting the book and then dropping a nice anecdote about being smart about your career and professional choices. So, user-generated content versus produced content. User-generated content is content that your fans or your followers have posted about you, have shared, have gone back to retweet, to create some picture that's happening in their home or happening wherever they are, showcasing your brand, because they are your brand evangelists. They are the people that celebrate you, that talk about you, that give word of mouth, whether it's good or bad. Those are the people that are taking a stand with your brand or not, and communicating within their specific audiences about your brand as well. So one thing that they should be, authentic user-generated content can be sustainable, because and sustainable here in this regard means evergreen. You can continuously utilize that content over and over as much as you would like. Considering that if there's a brand that you have and you haven't changed packaging or something like that, you can continue to use that content as well. It's cost effective, so you don't have to necessarily hire a photographer and or purchase stock images. So it's cost effective in that regard. And it's an influential source of content that brands need to help build trust, grow sales, and deeper your relationships with your customers. So the three opportunities that come along with user-generated content are trust, social proof, and human connection. Trust means that other people will say, oh, this person uses this brand, or this group uses this brand as well. They celebrate it, they talk about it. Okay, I'm going to take a deeper look. Social proof is this product is out there. It's not something that myself, the owner, is only talking about and celebrating. Other people are celebrating and talking about it and excited about it as well. And then it shows the human connection of just regular people realistically, authentically engaging with your brand or your product, or talking about something that you're doing. So here, Quarry Ice is a Chicago-based brand. 90% of their business is all restaurant use, but the company themselves are very much so community based. They place a lot of value in giving back to the community and doing neighborhood things that are cherished by Chicagoans all over the city. So one post in here talks about their Valentine's Day celebration in Westtown, so a part of Chicago, in the city. And another post is from a chef, a seafood chef, who just had dinner at home and purchased the ice, because the ice can be purchased from Benny's, which is a local retailer here. And he snapped a quick picture. Quarry reposted the picture. And so that's what user-generated content consists of. The other image inserted within this slide is a snapshot of their entire feed. So as you can see, the feed is well curated, because there's pictures of the owners, there's pictures obviously of cocktails, there's pictures of boxes of the ice, merged in with what looks like a lot of user-generated content. So let's talk a little bit about why your content isn't working and what that disconnect can look like. I have coined this phrase called RASM spasms. And RASM spasms are random acts of social media marketing. They may look good, they may not. They may have been expensive, they may not have been. But the real point of why they're not working is because they're very much so disconnected and random. Being off brand, being disconnected from your messaging, being disconnected from, excuse me, from the goals that you have for your brand, it's not going to work. RASM spasms can be identified from anything from a Facebook campaign that is totally disconnected, a live video that is totally off brand, a series of Instagram stories that really have nothing to do, again, with your brand or with your messaging or with your campaign, a new Facebook, LinkedIn group that you may have joined that, again, speaks nothing about what your subject matter is, and random inspirational quotes just to like boost engagement. Your engagement is going to be very organic and it should be very authentic. That is the expectation. I can always tell when someone has purchased followers because the engagement is very off, it's very random, and the follower count versus the amount of engagement and or attention that a post has received is just really, really skewed. So again, being random, being off brand, will make your brand feel very disconnected, and it will kind of lose its reputation for being solid or being something that's trustworthy. It would potentially cause people to either unfollow, look away, not connect, not engage, or just be confused. Leveraging social media ads. If you are interested in advertising on Facebook or Instagram right now, those are two of the most cost-effective platforms that are out and that have been out for quite some time. Very different from traditional advertising, which can be very expensive if you're a new entrepreneur, if you're a small business. Facebook ads, social media ads in general, are absolutely the way to go. Right now, they're even lower because people have cut their advertising spend, cut their advertising rates down, supremely low right now because of what's going on. Omnicom, which is a well-known media company, they recently released a point of view document that gives a little bit more clarity on how social media advertising is being impacted. And I'll put the link in the chat box in a few moments that will allow you to like further read what's going on in that space. Basically, it's like the wild, wild west. People are bidding. Basically, it's a whatever you offer, best offer rate right now with social media advertising. So the main objective here is to just craft the right specific plan when you're thinking about starting a social media advertising plan, if you're thinking about advertising on social media at all, if it's something that you want to boost to a larger audience, if you do not want to depend on, perhaps you have a small audience and you'd like to get something seen by a larger audience. Social media advertising is very helpful in that light. It's just about, again, having the right plan and having the right messages as well. So let's get to a worksheet. Actually, let's go here first. So let's talk about a few goals in this next section. And feel free to save this section later as a guide for you to work on your real plan with your real pen and your real paper, because that's how you're going to see the most success out of these efforts. And in these slides, I've given some specific examples, and I have a scenario that I discussed further down as well. So what are some social media goals to consider? Maybe you want to get more followers. Maybe you want more visits to your website. Maybe you want to increase your email database, so that if you have a blog or a newsletter that you're trying to send out on the regular basis, those are some of the things that are goals and are measurable, and they're SMART goals, and they're very relevant goals as well. So drive traffic to your website. One step further from having a good presence, a good brand presence on social media, is driving visitors to your website or your blog, because those are people that could potentially turn into customers, especially if you're selling something. So 3 in 5 marketers use social media to distribute their content and drive traffic to their sites. A team at HubSpot, for instance, grew their monthly blog traffic by 241% over 8 months through social media experiments. Now, these social media experiments need to be on brand. They need to be, and experimenting is positive, it's healthy, it's necessary. Audiences kind of expect experiments, if you will, because it's a human thing to do, to test and try everything out. So it's a great way to do that. The metrics that you want to measure when you're trying to grow traffic, you want to ask specific questions that will lead you to identifying and being able to just kind of understand the data in terms of the feedback that you're getting from said experiments. So if you want to drive traffic from social media, one of the questions you want to ask is how many visitors are coming from social media to your website. So if you're driving audiences from Facebook or driving audiences from Instagram, driving audiences from Twitter, from TikTok, or from LinkedIn. Share of overall traffic. How much of your overall traffic does social media account for? Bounce rate of social media traffic. What is the quality of the traffic from social media? So are these targeted audience members? Are these targeted fans? For instance, if you're selling educational tools to teachers, how many people are not a part of that specific audience segment coming to your site and potentially buying, loading up a shopping cart, leaving comments in the comments section, sending messages? So are these specific people that you want to target? And that's what measuring quality of traffic determines. And then clicks on your social media posts. How well is the messaging of your social media post performing? Is there a specific call to action where people are actually doing something based on what you're saying in your posts, based on your captions and your content and copy? How to measure traffic to your website. So there's Google Analytics is fantastic for doing this. And it's probably one of the easiest tools for tracking web traffic. It provides you with information about your website or blog traffic from various sources, including social media. It's free, it's there, it's fantastic, it works, it's understandable, even for the most non-seasoned social media user. Google Analytics, once you get in there and play with it a little bit, it's very digestible, very understandable. You don't need to hire anyone to understand what your Google Analytics are saying to you. So worksheet number 2. Let's say one of your goals is to boost brand engagement. So engagement is the second top reason why marketers use social media. And research has found that social media interactions improve brand perception, loyalty, and word of mouth recommendations. So engagements are all of the comments that are happening underneath your posts, all of the people potentially leaving you or sending you direct messages, asking for further questions. Engagement is where the social media magic is happening. That is where people are talking to you, talking with you, talking about you, what have you. That's what engagement measures. So social media's platforms have algorithms, and the algorithm skews higher and is more intentional about raising your viewing rate, if you will, based on algorithms, based on engagement, I'm sorry. Algorithms actually like engagement over likes and followers. So Facebook and Instagram specifically, they place priority on posts with higher engagement on their feeds due to believing that users will be more interested in seeing highly engaging content. So in other words, if, I don't know, a music brand launched a new album about We Are the World, and the album and the specific song or the specific single really resonated with just a massive amount of people, that post will receive preference over all of the other posts that are flying in every second. But that post will potentially be at the top of everyone's feed, and the explore page on Instagram for people to consider tapping on it because it received so many likes, but there was so much commentary and engagement going on in the comments section underneath the post. The main idea here is if you want people to see your social media posts, you have to produce engaging content and respond to your community. So that means if someone leaves a message underneath, you do want to, so posting is a combination of things on social media. It is posting great content, and there's no way to say or to determine really like if a lot of people are going to like a post that you thought was a good post. It's a matter of how you're cultivating your community, how you're speaking to them, if you're giving them consistently content that they find relevant and engaging to them. 9 times out of 10, the posts will get engagement. Engagement can be someone saying something or simply someone leaving an emoji, like a heart. Here, the potential metrics to measure when you're talking about engagement: likes, shares, and comments per post. How many people are interacting with you on your post? Mentions and replies. So if someone reshares and or in their post, they mention your name, tagging your name, or replying to, if they're commenting on it and then you reply to them, how many people are mentioning your brand and how many people have you replied to? Those are things that are important to measure, and those are things that you should actively be doing on your social media. And then how to track engagement. Just like brand awareness metrics, you can manually track engagement metrics through platforms themselves. Instagram specifically, if you set your page up for either a creator account or a business account, you get real-time, every day, every hour, every second analytics on how well your page is performing overall, the engagement count. You get all of that in one quick snapshot on Instagram and Facebook as well. Or you can use a social media analytics tool, again, to help you understand what your engagement looks like. Some of them are free and some of them are not. And I am actually going to add also in the comment section some of those tools as well. So what if you want to build a community around your business? Tracking audience numbers such as total followers and fans, that's a great thing to do, but that's not really building community. That's saying that there are people that decided to press like, but that doesn't mean that they're going to do something. And your community should be looked upon as people that are, again, being your evangelists, that are going about talking and promoting your brand. It's unpaid, it's all earned, it's all organic. But we've also noticed a rise in the number of closed communities and chat businesses that closed communities that businesses have been focusing on over the past year or so. And so closed communities are communities that chat amongst themselves in the background in the DM. So that may be people sharing a lot of your content on the background and not sharing that content up front where you can see it. The types of goals you want to set for these communities may feel very different from your overall community. There is a way, specifically in Instagram, where you will know and you'll be able to see it for free if people have shared your content behind the scenes. It doesn't tell you who and it doesn't tell you where, it just tells you how many people saved your post and shared it behind the scenes in the direct message. And those are metrics that if you're looking at the behind the scenes shares, then that has a different level of success for how well a post did or how well your campaign did versus something that was posted and shared where everyone can see it. A list to help you get started on possible metrics to track community building could be your Facebook groups. So number of posts, likes and comments, like how engaged is that specific community? And for instance, for Twitter, which is one of my favorites as well, but for Twitter, the number of participants and tweets per participant. So that means how many people are involved in your Twitter chats and how engaged are they? If you, for example, post on Instagram that you're going to do a Twitter chat on Tuesday or Thursday and it's Sunday, you post again on Monday, don't forget, tune in at whatever the time is, and then Tuesday gets here. You want to see how many people were engaged enough in the Instagram post to then go to your Twitter chat, participate, comment, share. You want to measure that. You want to see how effective Instagram was for promoting your Twitter chat or how effective your Facebook post was towards promoting your Twitter chat. And that's what that basically means. And for Slack communities, Slack is another social media platform. The number of active users, how many people are actively involved in your Slack community? Again, this is another group. This is like LinkedIn, this is like Facebook groups. Slack is another community building group-based platform as well. How to track community building. There are many great tools that can help you track data automatically. So there's Gridix and Community Analytics for Facebook specifically. And for Twitter, there is a tool called Keyhole and another one called Hash Tracking, because hashtags, that is another very specific topic. Hashtags are your friend. Hashtags help you measure very easily without the use of a tool. If you go to a specific hashtag, maybe it's a custom hashtag that you've created, or maybe it's a hashtag that you use because it's popular amongst your audience or amongst your subject matter. Hashtag lets you know what's going on in that space regarding that specific hashtag. So hash tracking is another tool for that. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. I'm not sure even in this specific presentation, but if people have questions about it, that's fine. We may be even talking about that in the next segment of this series. Let's go to message mapping. So message mapping has to do with helping you stay on message and stay on target with what it is that you are posting in your captions, what your brand story is all about. Message mapping is important in your editorial calendar creation, which we spoke about a couple of slides before. So it's a framework that's used to help you create your brand message that can be tailored to specific audiences. So let's say that you have a t-shirt company, you sell t-shirts to potentially 5 different types of customers. Music enthusiasts, outdoorsy types of people, and foodies. And you want to, the way that you would speak about outdoor activities versus the way that you would speak about culinary subject matter are 2 different types of comments that you'll be leaving and or captions that you'll be creating and messages that you'll create. So that's what message mapping helps you do. It helps you identify who you're talking to and what should you be talking to them about. So if you want to tell a compelling story about who you are and what you do, a message map is absolutely the way to go. Whether you're launching a brand new company, introducing a product, or preparing for a marketing campaign, message mapping is an important step in communicating effectively because you want to keep your messaging consistent with your brand. On this slide, I give an example. I give a scenario and an example of what a message map could look like visually. After you've written it down, creating something that kind of keeps you guided to who you're talking to and what are you talking to them about. So here's a 3-step scenario, just to give a little bit of further context to what a message map planning situation could look like. So let's say that you developed an app or a software that helps small businesses organize processes and workflow, and you're about to go live. So you've planned out this wonderful live on Facebook or Instagram during a well-known tech conference, virtually of course, because everyone is doing these virtual conferences and whatnot. Step 1 of creating your message map would be to identify 3 different groups of people who are likely going to attend this virtual conference. If you want to go deeper into how do you kind of further fine-tune identifying these groups, is you can break these groups into segments with that, and these segments should speak to kind of who this audience is from a personable standpoint. So their persona profile. What do they like? Where do they go? Where do they eat? That would be a persona profile. Step 2, identify high-level goals for your call to action. So what do you want your audience to do? What do you want from your audience? Do you want them to buy things from you? If there's audience, if there are people that are potentially going to be watching this that are bloggers or media people, do you want them to write about you? Do you want media coverage? Do you want word of mouth reference? And then another really good thing to do is, in addition to identifying and kind of mapping out what you want, also figure out what are the potential roadblocks or the barriers that will present themselves to not have that connection happen with that specific audience. So out of those goals, you've written 3 or 4 down. What could possibly happen that you won't have success and your goals won't get met? And those are things that are equally as important as identifying the audience and even breaking down further audience personas. And then step 3, you want to map key messages geared specifically towards that audience that you've identified in step 1. For instance, for existing and potential customers, they may be interested in benefits and features, while potential investors who could be watching this virtual conference, they're going to be interested in how the product, what new enhancements you've added to your product, or potential new business opportunities that are going to happen from that, from your launch. And I think we are ready to get to our question and answers and discuss a few things that I've talked about. I can even go back to certain slides. I'm going to figure out how to, and you can feel free to unmute yourselves here. I want to figure out how to get back to my comments section. Bear with me for one moment. Because I did see a couple of questions come up, and I want to make sure that I'm answering your questions properly.
Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
I had a question about group moderation, or allowing clients or customers or members of the community to post content to social media platforms that I might be managing. I personally don't have a problem with it and encourage it, but I do like to moderate or manage what gets posted. But how important or helpful, or what is your thought about encouraging community participation on the platforms that we create?
So community participation is a good thing to consider and to activate. What that does, you could look at it as contributors to a blog or to a media outlet. You look at it as someone who is going to present their perspective. Obviously, you want to get things pre-approved and take a look at kind of what they have in mind. If you have sort of a editorial calendar or a specific theme of subject matter already planned out, and then they say they would like to contribute to that specific topic on this day or this week, I think that's a good thing to do. It's helpful, and highlighting who this community member is and how long they've been a community member is also a good thing as well, because it builds trust, it shows engagement, and it shows that you are not trying to be non-inclusive. So it's about sharing perspective and sharing views. So it's a good thing to do, and it's a good thing to highlight. Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
How do you find a good theme or create that consistency to generate that engaging content? I find myself having a really hard time producing engaging content consistently on Instagram specifically.
On Instagram specifically. So one thing you could do that's very helpful to, it's social listening. So are you familiar with what that is and what that means?
Not really.
So social listening is basically one way you could do it is go to whatever your hashtag is for the content. And could you tell me what your subject matter is?
Well, this is more for my personal feed.
Okay.
That I'm trying to build for my personal branding.
Okay.
I'm actually in marketing, funny enough.
Nice.
But I guess with personal branding, I don't know if you can shed light on this. I don't know.
So
go ahead.
What's your subject matter that you talk about? Like, for your personal feed, like, what does your bio say about you?
See, that's the thing I'm struggling with. So like, that's the very thing, like, how do I find a theme or like a subject matter that resonates with who I am, but also is engaging with others so that it's beneficial on both ends?
So one way that you could do that is just be authentic about, I'm a marketer, navigating life. I love all things outdoors and art. Just tossing that out there. That's your bio. When you're looking for what to post about, you want to connect it to who you really are so that it doesn't feel forced, so that your content doesn't feel like you're just searching for things to post about. For instance, if you're a marketer who is into art, and what is and let's say that your background in marketing is bringing brands to market, bringing new brands to market. So maybe you're reading articles just very quickly on like Adweek or Inc. magazine or anything like that. The profiles that you follow will feed your interest and your curiosity. And I always say, you don't have to make anything up. You can just take a subject matter from a marketing perspective or from an art perspective that you're interested in and just post about your impression about what you found or what you discovered. You'll notice that that'll lead you to other subject matter to post about as well. If you're posting once a week, twice a week, you want to be as consistent there, but that will lead you to other subject matter to post about. Searching hashtags to see what's trending and what's popular, what other people who are like you or other people within your sphere of influence are interested in. That's another good way to find content to post about, write about, to share. If there's something that you read about and you share it and then you just discuss it in your caption from your perspective and then tag the person or the platform that you found this interesting information about, that's a great way to boost engagement and to have interesting things to talk about where people will get your perspective as a marketer and or whatever you're interested in.
Thank you so much. I don't want to take up more of the time. Maybe I can contact you after this, but I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. For some reason, I can't see the comment section, and I saw like 10 comments.
You need to open up your Zoom. Do you have your Zoom app open?
It was. Okay.
There it is.
Okay.
So if you go down to where that bar was on the bottom.
Where it says chat, a new chat?
No. Oh, you're in your Zoom right now. I don't see it. We only see your browsing screen.
Oh, okay.
I can read the two questions that are on there if you'd like.
Please do, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so the first one says, could you please share the Omnicon point of view document link?
Oh, yes, I can. And I want to put that in the chat. So here's where it's going to get interesting. Let's see. Oh, gosh. It says start new chat. I don't know how I did this. But I will do that once I figure it out right here. Could you read another question for me?
The one afterwards says, how do you see companies using social media influencers, for example, giving them free products, services, etc., for promotional purposes?
I found the chat. Thank you. So companies use influencers, and I've spent a lot of years managing influencers, creating the asks that will create value for the brand or the company, because there's a lot of disconnect with influencers pitching companies to receive free product, but they're not presenting a solid connection as to how that value is going to truly be translated in whatever their content is going to be about. So brands and companies typically work with influencers that really influence, that really have the ability to engage their audiences in a way that is unique to them. And then the audiences actually buy something, go to a restaurant that they're recommending, take a trip, you know, book a hotel that they've recommended, whatever that thing is that they are known for in their respective realm of influence, if you will. They typically select influencers who have the ability to understand the business objective and what the company or the brand is trying to do, in addition to how they're going to go about engaging their audience on this new product or this new brand. And so is your question also about how do they find influencers to work with? And I'm gonna find that link too. Okay. Here. I'm just opening something so that I can give you guys the link to Omnicon. Sorry about that, bear with me. Here we go. Okay. Oh, maybe it wasn't doing it for me. Okay, there we go. Let's see if this works. Well, so I'm trying to put the link to Omnicon in here, but it's making me do it privately to someone, so I don't know. I'm gonna send it to David. If you're still here, let's see. Yeah, it's not letting me do it. I don't know why. Oh, everyone publicly. Okay, let's see if I can do it that way. If I can't, I will send it out to everyone an email, I suppose. I'm not sure why it's not letting me. It says, I mean, I'm in the Zoom group chat, but for some reason it's not letting me paste the link there. So would it be beneficial if I went to the actual page on my, I'm sharing my screen so I could open up a new tab and go there? Would that help? Okay.
Heidi, I'm not sure if that would help. You're also welcome to email it to me right now, and I can drop it in the chat.
Yeah, let me do that. Thank you, Steph.
For sure.
I'm not sure what's happening right now, but something. I'm emailing it to Steph.
It's showing up in the chat now.
Oh, is it? Okay.
So it's there. Miranda sent it to everyone.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I just view what Heidi has been typing and then I Google it and that's it. I hope it's the
Thank
same.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's always more than one way.
Oh, well, I appreciate the community help here, okay? So I just sent it to you too, Steph, just because. Okay, now that I can see the chat, let's see. Okay, question. If you are launching a new product, how far in advance of a launch would you recommend producing content for your social media platform? So, very good question. So I am a believer of collecting all of the content that you have in mind for posting for a launch or whatever it is you're going to do in advance. The amount of content that you're intending to connect to your launch or to your campaign will determine how much time you need. Also, what kind of content are you trying to post? So or to include in your campaign and your launch efforts. So if you're trying to produce a video series or a video story, obviously that's going to take a little bit more time because you have to put all the pieces together to shoot, to edit, and all of those things. If it's photography and you're not having to take that photography yourself, you're having to hire someone to do it. That also takes time for them to shoot everything, for you to ship things out, get product in their hands, for them to edit. So my recommendation, just in planning a launch, depending on what it is and like all of the moving parts that would be involved, you want to give yourself at least 6 to 8 weeks to get all of your content produced, and then plan out an additional 6 weeks for launch. And it could be less, depending on what that is specifically. And I think the person who asked that is Kira B. And Kira, if you're still on, if you want to be a little bit more specific, I could possibly give you more detailed information or just a better answer about timing.
Yeah, I mean, it's for probiotic supplements, and we have plenty of time. We're well in advance because we're in product development. I mean, I think, I mean, in my experience with a launch, I would generally coordinate all of my activities at the time when the product was available. But I guess the question was, for social media with a brand new brand, do you want to also have a little bit of history, even if it's with users that are maybe in your very small, tight-knit community? You know, should you have some posts that are showing up? Like if you have an Instagram account, you know, maybe it's good to have posts that go 5 or 6 months back just to show some sort of history, even if that's not something that you're kind of actively looking to engage users at that point.
Yes, I mean, all content, any opportunity to take people on a journey with you is always a great thing to do. It's you are showing authenticity and like, here's what we've been doing, here's where we started, here's where we want to go, and then obviously at launch, look at what we're doing.
Okay.
So yeah, and that would be considered evergreen content and repurposing content. Repurposing content is always good because it's saying, look at where we were, look at where we are now. So that's a good idea to do that. Oh, and you did ask how often can you repurpose content. So repurposing content should be done to, again, show and take your audience on a journey. If you're getting ready to launch something, just talk about, you know, we were once here and now we're moving in a new direction. We have our old product line is still loved by many. We are formulating something. We used to use this. Now we've amplified our formulation using this now, you know, and so repurposing that content from before to talk about what you did before versus what you're doing now is a good thing.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. How do you see companies using social, okay, influencers? If you're launching a new CPG product, new brand, how far in advance? Okay. And how to best leverage them. Did I answer this question already, Jared? I think so, okay. Someone asked a question about how important is an editorial calendar to a large organization who posts things on the fly? Is it possible for them to add some type of structure? Yes, 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 add structure. So posting on the fly is okay because, you know, the only thing about posting on a fly is that you run the risk of posting something that's disconnected and something that's random and something that feels random. So that would be my only hesitation for doing that. If you're a company, you want to make sure that you're staying on brand, especially if you're a large organization. There should be plenty of things to talk about, and that could range from celebrating someone in the office, talking about new computers that you got, talking about some key thing that you learned in morning huddle or in a morning meeting, talking about an article about your industry that you found, talking about where you are in developments for a new product or a new piece of material, anything like that. There really isn't a reason to do things on the fly for larger companies because you should have every day there should be something that you can map out as your week to week activities roll out. There could be things that you could schedule for the week, if you will, if you're going to, you know, post for the week. But large companies, I typically like to see a 30-day calendar, and I typically recommend a 30-day calendar just because it just keeps everything tight, keeps you on message, keeps your story tight, continues to reinforce your company values, continues to reinforce your vision and your strategies. So I would plan out, for large companies, I would plan out 30-day editorial calendars so that you don't have to do things on the fly. Do you have tips regarding your social media calendar? About the link. Okay, I should have the link now. How do you feel about using social media platforms that allow you to plan content calendar, and summarize analytics across all social media platforms? So this question was from, I think, Ane, about perhaps the social media tools like Sprout or Planoly, any of those planning social media platforms. I like them. They're very helpful. Sometimes there are, and I mean, with anything technological, there are pros and cons. I have used Sprout before in particular, and this is in no way saying that Sprout is not good, but I have used Sprout before, and I planned out all this content for a client, and I noticed by like day 2 or 3, actually day 1, but like by day 2 or 3, it continued to not post the content. So I was scheduling the posts and none of them were going out. I was having to physically go in and post the content to the platform myself. So I like them. I don't like them sometimes, but I like them. But they're very useful. I mean, especially when you are posting content for a large company or for a client, you want to be able to give that client that, you know, be able to express and translate the analytics as much as possible. You want to be able to showcase how these posts are performing, what your metrics and your data should be telling you if there's some decision that you're trying to make with a new brand or a new product launch or a new business. Those are the things that absolutely matter. And you depend and rely on those platforms to be able to perform in a way that helps you with your predictive metric measuring. So, yeah. And then another question is, how do you get the organizational leadership to change their on-the-fly ways? They have bad ideas. So one way you can do that is show them a planned post and the results of a planned post versus what happened when they posted something on the fly. Now, there's two parts to that, because sometimes things on the fly could be considered as an experiment. Experiments are good. Sometimes experiments work out well and sometimes they don't. If the goal is to get organizational leaders to be on the same page with the benefits and the positives of planned content, my recommendation would be, if you can get buy-in on a specific strategy for a plan or a campaign that meets the objectives that they are interested in, that they would determine to be successful, and then show them what it looks like through the lens of, here are the reasons why we should do this, here is why it works, here is why it, here are the potential problems that could come if we don't do things this way. And here are some success factors that could come from this plan. And if you're trying to get to a certain place with your content, to tie it into campaign, to tie it into organizational objectives. Obviously, if they're looking to tie it into the overall vision of the company, which speaks to the strategy and whatnot, the plan is what is the best course of action, per my recommendation. It says, you can mention Huggies if you haven't already. This looks great. Oh, okay. Turquoise Media Group did a campaign for a Huggies launch last year in New York. It was very successful. The piece of the campaign that they were missing is they didn't have a succinct way to tie in a consistent social media campaign, if you will, tied into the launch for the influencers. So the influencer that we worked with, we created content that lasted beyond the campaign, but connected the campaign goals and objectives and messaging into 30 days post-campaign. So this particular influencer is all about baby showers, all about personalization and making baby showers fabulous and fun. And the campaign was surrounding using new diapers. So, and these diapers were all about personalizing it and the perfect gift for the upcoming parents. So after the launch took place, we created content for this specific influencer that really kind of spoke to the whole family and the lifestyle after the baby has come, after the baby shower, and ways that you can incorporate the family in caring for the baby, other lifestyle content for her that she's very much so known about, and it still was able to connect back to these diapers. So that's a way that you could do that when you're trying to make the connection between what does the campaign look like, what are the extensions that happen to it beyond, how do you keep the messaging going, how do you still use the hashtag post-campaign, what are the success factors there. So what is your take on good visuals for Instagram posts, and any tips or tricks to make your photos look good? So because I come from the advertising world, because I come from agency world, I am accustomed to high quality, very good looking images. I know that I spoke about user generated content earlier in the presentation versus produced content. Sometimes user generated content doesn't look the same as the content that the platform has so carefully worked on to curate this specific look and this flow of the feed. However, user-generated content is necessary. It's very healthy to utilize that. It's beneficial, it's valuable. There is a place for content that doesn't fit into your aesthetic, and that is in your Instagram stories. That is also in Facebook, because Facebook isn't as visual as Instagram. Instagram is like your place where you can treat your content like a magazine. Facebook is not, but Instagram stories is where you can be, have a little bit more fun and not be off brand, but you can experiment more in Instagram stories, because it doesn't stay on your feed as long. So taking good visuals for Instagram, I always believe in daylight, in the sunshine, if you're taking these pictures yourself, daylight in a window, someplace that's clean. I like natural light as opposed to using artificial light, ring lights or whatnot, just because I just like the way that it looks very fresh and energetic, if that's what you're going for. Even if you're going for something that looks a little bit moodier, natural light is still the way to go. Shadows are your friend. Every photo can look good or look better in post editing. So once you take the photo and then manipulate some edits to lifting color, maybe you want to place a fun filter on it, those are options that you can consider. So, and again, in terms of tips and tricks to make your photos look good, again, natural light is my preference. Specifically. Any other questions? And after this, I think after the second series, after the second activation for next week, I am going to have an ebook for everyone from this week and for next week as well. And Steph, I believe I'll send that to you if I'm unable to email it to everyone specifically.
Yep, I'll send that out to everyone with the video links from the 2 sessions too.
Perfect. Well, we are down to a final minute. Are there any other questions that anyone may have? Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for participating. I hope it was helpful.
I think it was, Heidi, and thank you for taking so many questions.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, we will see everyone here, same place next week at 12. Have a great day.
Thank you.